Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Varanus Vault podcast on the Reptile Network. Tonight, I'm joined with Will Scott, an Australian keeper and herper. We've got lots of things to talk about, a lot of Audatria stuff, so I'm really excited for this episode. Get Scott straight on. There we go. Hi. I'll just keep calling you Scott. Will Scott. How's it going, mate?
Yeah, good. Thanks, mate. Great to meet you.
I had Scott made because we were talking about Scott Hyper just before, so I had Scott made, so I do apologise.
Yeah, no, it's all good, mate. There's a few of us in the reptile scene, I think, in southeast Queensland nowadays. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
So people that don't know you, Will, just say how you got into reptiles.
Oh, mate, honestly, it's just been from a very young age, just relentlessly obsessed with the things, and it's just gone from there and continued to take over more and more of my life, as it does with a lot of us. And with a particular interest in Australian monitors for sure, just been obsessed with things.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Like I was saying before, so people are gonna have to bear with me. I've got really bad internet tonight. It's caught me a bit off guard. So there's a bit of a lag between me and Will, so you have to bear with us. Anyone listening to this podcast, there'll be a lot of pictures brought up, so it's another one you're going to want to check the video for. So keeping stuff in Australia is not the easiest thing, Will. You said you moved around a little bit. Have you stayed in the same state to keep stuff?
I started off in Victoria, so down in Melbourne, so a long way south of where I am now. And basically first 18 or so years was down there keeping stuff, and then moved from Melbourne up to Townsville and was there for a few years, and then more recently now on the Sunshine Coast. So Victoria and Queensland for me.
And what's the licensing like there? Does it change each state or?
Yeah, definitely. Victoria's, I'm not too sure what it's like nowadays, but it's a much more restricted species list.
Okay.
Whereas Queensland's was more free range, although I think 2020 they brought in a species list and they've started to tighten things up a bit, so which is fair enough.
Excellent. Yeah, I just hear it's quite difficult depending on what state you're in. I think WA you can only keep stuff in WA if I remember, and then some of the other ones are a bit more lenient.
Yeah, I think nowadays South Australia or the Northern Territory is probably where you want to be if you want a bit more free reign. But Queensland's pretty good now. I think we've got 300 odd reptile species on the list. And if you have an advanced license, there's not a whole lot of restrictions as to what you're meant to be doing, just as long as you use the record book systems and you keep track of everything. And yeah, it's pretty good. I can't fault it too much.
Excellent. So getting right into it, what sort of stuff are you keeping now?
At the moment, mostly a lot of monitors, obviously. When I was up north, I had a fair bit more because literally everything was outdoors in big aviaries. And then when I first come down here, everything had to go inside. So I gave a lot of the larger stuff to mates to look after, who'd put it outside and do things properly. But nowadays, quite a lot of dwarf monitors, like ridgetails and spotted trees and black-headed monitors and all that. And a couple of Panoptes yellow spotted monitors, they're outside. And also a few pythons, lomas and olive pythons, and quite a few skinks, like the Agurnia skinks, like the live-bearing sort of communal species like Cunninghams and Hosmers and Yakka skinks. I keep a few of them because they're awesome. They're unreal. That'd probably cover it. Yeah.
Awesome. Let's get to this. So keeping stuff outside where you are now, can you do that year round, or do you have to bring stuff in?
I do quite a few things outside year round, including the Panoptes. A lot of the skinks are outside year round. I'm going to probably put the black-headed monitors outside year round because I know they can be done here. Like they're ridiculously tough lizards, I want to try the spotted trees, but I probably will bring them in over winter. I've experimented a bit before, but because I think we'll probably get into it more later, but they're a bit of a winter breeder, and that kind of might not bode well this far south for them, but I'd love to get them outside over summer.
Yeah. And the stuff you keep indoors, how are you keeping that? Some of the dwarf stuff?
Mostly large 6 foot, melamine enclosures with, T5 UV and lots of hollows and things and rock stacks and pretty typical dwarf monitor stuff,
I don't know
what works, I guess.
it's quite easy to get lamps and equipment in Australia now. I would believe.
Yeah. The globes are a bit weird, but yeah, you can track them down. Thankfully, I've got mates that have looked after me over the years with getting equipment and stuff that I need. So yeah, I've been quite fortunate. So got a decent sort of bit of infrastructure now. Yeah,
oh, that's good. Yeah, we struggle to get anything that makes anything hot. So lamps are okay. Like the old like heat lamps we can use because they're phasing them out now for a lot of LED stuff. But like we're struggling for heat mats at the moment. You just can't get any heat mats. Or like in England, we'd use like greenhouse warmers to obviously keep your plants warm during the winter. You just can't get them in Indonesia. So it's like anything to keep stuff cool is really easy, but anything to keep it hot is a struggle. But yeah, you're a bit more connected in Australia, I guess.
Yeah, well, you're doing it the interesting way. Hey, out there, it's got to be just the benefit of everything outdoors, but then the resources and infrastructure. It's got to be a challenge. It looks pretty awesome though, the setup you guys have got over there.
Yeah, we're lucky. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, it's good for some stuff, but we're at quite high elevation, so it gets pretty cool. Like everything, all the monitors now, outdoors are sort of shut down. It's coming into the rainy season here. They're reduced food and everything, but can use that to sort of your advantage. Come sort of March sort of time, everything starts warming up and everything gets slammed with food, which is good. So it gives us a break. Just going around at the moment, checking nest boxes and cages and stuff. I'm just making sure everything's right for the breeding season. So that is nice. And then obviously we had to do the stuff indoors as well, but that's just super tricky. Building stuff's really easy, really cheap, like insanely cheap compared to what's probably like in Australia and in England. But just struggle for like the simplest things. I was like, speak to the my partner and like, surely there's got to be heat mats. Someone's got to do that. Or like oil-filled radiators, which are like a staple in England to keep everyone warm. It's like, no, we don't need them. Oh, shit. Have to import some stuff.
Over your cooler, I'm going to say, ask over your cooler period, do things shut down completely, or is it kind of like you just reduce feeding?
We reduce feeding. Well, I reduce feeding as a matter of fact anyway, because everything gets fed so heavily during the warmer months. But they sort of naturally, sort of the last couple of weeks, it started to get really rainy. So everything, you can see we're putting food in there and it's not getting eaten. So they sort of naturally go off food anyway. So
wow.
They sort of naturally shut down. We've got some Salvador, the crocodile monitors. They don't seem bothered by anything. We might be able to breed them year round. I've got one just about to lay eggs, which I hope I've managed to find 2 30-year-old heat mats. So I put them in the nest box, hoping she'll lay in there. But they're weird. They'll sit out in the rain when it's really cold and out in the rain. They'll just sit out in it, which is funny. I don't know if any of your Australian monitors will do that. Lacey's do that, or they tuck themselves away.
Oh, mate, when I was in Townsville in the middle of winter, and it does get pretty cold there in the middle of winter. Like you get really cold nights and mornings sometimes. I think down to maybe 8 degrees or so. Possibly, I definitely can get cooler, in rare instances. But I had a Spencer's monitor. I woke up early that morning, and it was asleep in the water bowl on one of those cool nights. And I thought this thing, oh no, what's happened here? But it was fine. It was just seemed completely fine with it. It was happy with itself in its water bowl, and in probably 5 degrees. So they surprise you.
Yeah. It's just in sense like, what are you doing? You're going to get respiratory or get ill or something. And like I said, those we might be able to breed year round, but all the tree monitors, they just shut off food, and then all like the similar types that we'll get into a bit later. They just slow down completely on the food, which, like I said, makes it easier when we've got so many animals here. My partner gets to have a bit of a break from me screaming at him for crickets and mice and stuff.
Yeah, that's it with breeding monitors, mate. It comes down to the food, when you need it, and if you miss that window, it's kind of that's that to a degree.
Yeah. No food, no breeding, pretty much, and then all the other bits that go with it.
Yeah.
What I'll try and do, mate, is bring some of your pictures up. Like I said, I haven't got a second screen for some reason. I think too many people are trying to use the internet. Try this. Go to the captive side. Can you see that, Will?
Yep, we're good.
Sweet. So I can't see you at the moment, mate. So you have to direct me. But we've got a lot of hatchling monitors here. Looks very cool. Do you want to tell me which one to bring up?
Oh, mate. Honestly, I think you just start, and I'll just run through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just start at the top left there.
Start the top left. So what are we looking at here?
Oh, just good old fashioned black-headed monitors. You know, Varanus tristis.
Yeah.
I think we'll just sort of scroll through a bit, you know, and if there's anything interesting, we can sort of talk about it. But you know, they're another tristis. They're pretty well,
Awesome.
you know. Yep.
What locality are these from, Will? Do you know, or is it just a generic sort of tristis?
This is a pair that was given to me by a mate when he got out of the hobby. Really good mate. They're meant to be from Western Queensland. So I've had them for a few years now, and I think from that pair, I've probably produced maybe 80 or so now. Like just
Oh wow.
not without trying. Like seriously, I've tried to reduce their breeding, but those are just very prolific animals. So that particular population or type of tristis, for whatever reason, is a bit different to like your Perth Hills and that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keeping these indoors.
At the moment, yeah, I've had them outside up north as well. You know, in a variety of different localities and types over the years. They will go outside.
Right. So that's another tristis there.
Yep.
These look very familiar to me. Do you want to explain what these are? Australian version?
Yeah, spotted tree monitor, Varanus scalaris, or you know whatever that complex may eventually entail. These are I guess the name itself came from a bloke that I got my first pair off probably 10 years ago now. He called them the Burdekin scalaris, which refers to a region in North Queensland where they occur, and they're very similar to, you'd be familiar with, it's not like taxonomically valid, but the term paloensis.
Yes.
So basically just a dry country sort of, you know, savanna type scalaris that you get all through northern Queensland there. And I've sort of bred them with some degree of consistency now for a few years. And yeah, they're one of my favorite lizards, mate. They're a great monitor in my opinion.
And have you got these set up, Will?
Same as the tristis mate at the moment. They're inside pretty much all year round. You know, large melamine 6-foot enclosures with plenty of hollows and branches and things for them to climb, and you know, nest boxes for when they need it. But up in Townsville,
sorry, mate. Is that 6 foot wide or 6 foot tall?
That's 6 foot long, and then varying heights. But generally, I make sure if they're in an enclosure that's not as tall, I'll put them right at the top of any enclosure stacks. You know what I mean? Being they're arboreal. I've tried them indoors in like a semi-aviary type enclosure. You know, which was like 6 foot tall. But that comes with its own issues as far as like getting the correct temperature gradients, you know, so that they can really act like how they're meant to. So yeah, still figuring them out. But up in Townsville, they were outside in big aviaries, man, and that's the way to do it. That's so much fun, honestly, when you have a colony of them in a 2 meter tall aviary full of logs and stuff, and you get to watch them basking. That's kind of really what it's about for me.
Excellent. And nesting for those, any sort of problems with nesting? Sorry, man, just trying to get the second screen.
Yeah, you're all good. If they're gravid, man, like it's good. We're on. You know, I can get the eggs. They're pretty foolproof nowadays. It's just sort of I don't know what it's like with your New Guinea or Papua New Guinea Similis or Scalaris, but I've found that getting them to consistently breed is probably the biggest challenge, with like the correct the correct inputs at the right times. You know what I mean? But yeah, nesting, you know, nice moist sand that they can dig into, reasonable size, and make sure it's warm enough for them, and they're pretty happy.
Sweet. And then are you doing any sort of cycling with them seasonally, or can you get eggs from year round?
Yeah, they're a funny one. They're different to the Burdikins are anyway from some of the other Scalaris I've kept over the years. They've got quite a wide range, so they'll go from sort of late March, April, all the way to sort of September potentially. And they can double clutch, but it seems to be pretty rare compared to obviously a lot of the other dwarf monitors. But yeah, it seems to be a winter breeder, but then there's weird factors probably to do with conditioning, where it's like, how much do you condition an animal going into a winter period, you know, and how much does that carry them through? So it's a bit of a balance compared to some of the more equatorial Scalaris populations.
Yeah, and then are you doing any sort of temperature drops with them, or is it sort of your ambience in the room drop?
Mate, the ambience definitely drop. Hey,
Yeah.
they cop it over winter a bit. I think that shed would get down below 10 degrees pretty,
Oh
quite
wow, it's that
consistently.
cold.
Well,
I
people
forgot
don't
what I feel
understand how. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't understand how resilient and tough these animals are and what they go through in the wild. Anything from Central Australia, mate, in particular, just for example, they're getting some serious temperature drops all through winter, like below zero, if frosts. These are resilient animals, and we probably baby them a bit too much. And I think with Scalaris in particular, if you're not breeding them, it's probably because things are too, maintaining the same sort of temperatures and feeding regimes. They probably need a little bit of stress in order to get them to breed, I've found personally.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know if maybe what you found up there, but I think there's been a bit to it with them.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, we get this really wet and then it drops a lot colder at night. We don't ever get down to 10 degrees. We get sort of 19 degrees, which most of the year it's, sitting at 25. So that's still a fair drop. So yeah, like I said, they sort of switch off this time of year and then we won't get eggs from them until sort of June next year, like the following year. But they're like clockwork here. It's ridiculous. The only one you could set your clock to. The tree monitors are a bit sporadic. Some of them will go as early as March, but those all the similar we've got here. It's like it's getting to June, we start getting clutches. And then once we get one clutch, it's just again and again and again. But yeah, I think we're really lucky where we've got that natural cycle. I know people really struggle to breed them. The similar sisters, which obviously is similar to the Scalaris, in other parts of the world. So that's really interesting. You're doing well with them inside in Australia.
I've probably produced about maybe 50 or 60 in total. So I haven't been knocking it out of the park compared to other people I know here in Australia. But definitely if I was still up in Townsville keeping them outdoors year round, they'd be a lot more consistent, I think.
Right.
But again, some of the more equatorial ones compared to the Burdekin's are definitely they are consistent. Like you can, the system works for them. These Burdekin's seem to be a little bit funnier, but just a bit of subtleties between the different populations,
Yeah, for sure. Have they got spurs by the cloaca for the males? Do you know? Have you looked?
It's definitely not like Tristus spurs, that's for sure.
No.
Yeah, very, very there's definitely some scales like there, I guess you'd say. It's noticeable, but nothing like a proper spur cluster.
No. I've just noticed it with a similar set. People keep asking me to see what sex they are. So I went through all of our ones. If you run your finger, they're that small. I know exactly what you're saying. They're not like a big cluster. But if you run your finger on the males, it'll sort of stick into your finger. Where the females, it'll just brush past. So I was just wondering if they would say they sound like pretty similar.
Yeah, I imagine they'd be similar, but sexing them, I generally go more off of like head shape and sort of body structure and all that, just personally. And then obviously you do look at the tail base and the bulges there, but they haven't been an easy one, like they're a bit of a subtle one. Chris Haverfield, probably the person who's been most successful, I think, with Scalaris as a whole in Australia. I believe he ultrasounds a lot of his to figure out what's what. And he's, man, if you want to get someone on to talk about captive breeding Scalaris, he's the guy. He's been so successful down in Victoria with things like Paloensis and the Kimberley Bandeds more recently. And he's one of the few people that's got Burdekin's off me and actually produced them. Like I know two people that have got them off me and then actually managed to breed them. But yeah, he's pumped out hundreds of those pellies, man. He's a machine. Yeah.
That's good. They're just like it's a bit like we were saying how resilient they are. Once you get some of these dwarf ones going, they're just like I said, like clockwork, and they pump out eggs. Right, I'll get them pictures back out.
Yep.
Where were we? Can you see that, mate? Like I said, I can't see you when this comes on. Yeah.
Just some more. No, that's the former Barici, now in Salonicus.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we don't get to see them. Do you want to talk about them a little bit? They're super interesting.
Oh, they're awesome, mate. They're a real, basically a tropical Aki kind of type lizard from the Arnhem escarpment and surrounds. I bred them for the first time last season. I produced a clutch of 6, and I've got another clutch incubating at the moment. So I'm looking forward to hopefully breeding them again. But yeah, not a common species in the hobby here.
No.
Let alone overseas. Have you ever seen them overseas at all?
No, never at all. They they never made the portal to Germany or Czechoslovakia. As far as my knowledge is, they never popped up. But yeah, that's like I said, I've never even seen a baby one, so that's why I thought they might be an Aki of some description. How have you found keeping these?
Yeah, they're great. I actually really enjoy them. So I got a pair off of Robert Grabowski Monsoon monitors. Another absolute machine of the monitor game, I guess you'd say, here in Australia. When he cut down to move south, I grabbed them off him.
Nice.
And I won't lie, when I first got them, I thought these are probably going to be just another Aki. Like, it's going to be very similar, but they're definitely not. They're more different than I thought they were. And I've enjoyed sort of the nuances of figuring them out. They don't seem to be as productive. Like smaller clutches. I haven't had a multi-clutch yet, which is bizarre for a ridgetail species. But extremely consistent to the point where mating, ovulation, and laying was like almost the exact same dates and periods as it was the previous year. And I keep them inside, and so I sort of know what the conditions are. But it's just interesting that you can pinpoint to that degree, what's going on with them over the course of the year.
And how have you got them set up?
They're in 6-footers, mate, with a bunch of hollows and rock stacks and tubs full of moist sand to burrow in. They interestingly barely touch the nesting tubs or basically they barely do any burrowing throughout the year until the females grab it, and then she goes for it.
Interesting.
So yeah, I was surprised. I even gave them when I first bred them. I wasn't too sure how picky they were going to be with nesting sort of conditions, so I actually gave them multiple nesting tubs. And yeah, I've still got 2 in there, but there's not much point, you know what I mean? Because it seems to be so specific what they're after, at least that particular female. But they're kind of a more daintily built sort of ridgetail monitor with some nice pattern and some yellow coloration through the throat. And they get to a good size too. I don't think people realize it. Like they are like the male Barichis are definitely on par with a proper big Aki. Like they're a good sized animal.
I found a stonker up in the Adelaide River region. I can never not call them Barichi though. I don't know where this Insulanicus thing. I don't know about
that. Yeah, I agree with you. I wish they kind of. Yeah, I understand why. Out of all the nomenclature and that, but Barichi, I just thought, and the history behind the name too was the local indigenous name for, I believe one of the doctors or something that was helping the community out there in the area where that first holotype came from. I think his name was like Dr. Neville White or something, and so obviously the local Aboriginal word for white, I believe, was Barichi, and so it was in honor of him, and it's just cool to honor, like, sort of, I guess, some of that history, I guess, to a degree. But anyway, now they're all Insulanicus, so that's that.
Have you ever seen any that look? I think it's Grooty Island, Grooty Inlet.
Yep. I haven't been over there. I haven't been over there, but I've seen photos of them. Yeah.
I think Nick. I think it's Nick. I've forgotten his second name now. Begins with a G. Gambolt.
Yeah, Nick Gambolt. Yep.
Yeah. He's got with a D. Yeah. He's got a picture of the only Insulanicus that used to be in. I think it was the Swan Book or one of those. I've just never seen a mainland one look like them, like that picture. But I don't know if that's just a one-off. I don't know how variable they are on that island.
Yeah, so that photo from Nick, I believe, was from the Wessel Island group.
Wessel.
And it's definitely, it's definitely an interesting looking animal. I double checked that, man. I'm doing the best I can from memory, but
no, I think you might be right. No.
I think I've seen some photos of the group ones, and they look probably more in line with mainland Barichi. Let's call them Barichi. I'll call the mainland ones Barichi just for clarity's sake. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's a fair bit of variation throughout those island groups. But I believe from the paper they had genetics from, I think, the Wessel Islands, and maybe it was the English Company Islands or something but they didn't have genetics from the group ones. But they said based on the photographic evidence, they were, consistent. So maybe a bit of room for a bit more someone to go look into that, I guess.
Resurrect the breach. But I don't know if they will, man. But like I said, it's such a cool name.
I just like to see more photos of these island ones.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's pretty hard to get over to those islands, from what I've been told.
Yeah.
Unless I think he was telling me, I think it was Gavin. Unless you go fishing, and then you might be allowed
Yep.
to let off for go to the toilet or something like that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
be interesting.
Definitely for sure.
What sort of temperatures do you keep these, Will?
So these are actually, I don't keep in the shed like with the Ackies and that, where they cop a real proper winter drop. I keep these indoors just because they are more equatorial.
Yeah.
So, but they get baked. They definitely get baked. Like,
Okay.
basking temp would be what, 50, 60 degrees. Ambient would be, 30 plus, but you can get down under logs and stuff and probably find some cooler retreats. And then over winter, that just sort of drops down marginally, but they still get, 12 hours a day of basking, lights on essentially. Just because obviously a lot of the equatorial stuff, like they don't have that daylight shift as much, or potentially at all. You'd know better than me where you are probably.
Yeah, it's 12,
So
12. Yeah, all year round.
yeah, so I run them pretty consistently and keep them indoors. The only two species I keep specifically in the house for those reasons at the moment is them and the Mitchell's water monitors, just based on their distribution.
Yeah. Awesome. Right. That's one coming out of an egg.
Yeah, that's that.
That's a pretty cool sight. That one in the back, stunning. Really nice.
Yeah, man, they're good looking lizards. They're yeah, I'm still keeping them and raising them up, and I'm keen to see how they turn out. That's for sure.
Yeah, quite different to the adults. The adults are pretty dark from what I can remember, with sort of some faint sort of white patterning on. These look like a bit more like a normal Aki to me.
Look, I found a fair few of those. I guess you'd say probably in one area of their range, and there's more variation in them than I anticipated. That's for sure.
Okay.
But definitely, you see the ones from more in Kakadu, and they're definitely darker. Hey, like you see some real dark ones from sort of the
Yeah.
north of their distribution compared to say Adelaide River or
Yeah.
Catherine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But a lot more variation than yeah. I need to get back up there with the camera and really put some effort in and find a few in like the same area, because you get ones that are more red, you get ones that are more yellow, ones that have got heaps of bold, ornate patterning, and the ones that are really, quite minimal patterning. And yeah, people don't understand that. And in a lot of these populations, there's a lot of variation.
Yeah, me too. Like I said, all the ones I found, I think were from Adelaide River, from what I remember, and they all look very similar. So yeah, I didn't know they were that variable. That's another excuse for me to get back up there as well.
Always, mate. Yeah. There you go. There's one you're familiar with. Yeah.
Yes. Do you know what? I always get confused with even though I've bred them, with the rusties. A lot more people seem to work with rusties. Is that right, or was it just Rob that was working with a lot of them?
Well, yeah, Rob definitely had quite a few of both, but I'd say Mitchells have really, they're not as common as Rusties. I think there's a smaller number of people that have consistently bred them. Again, that's another one. Chris Haberfield and Robert Grabowski, them two have put a lot of work into establishing them in the hobby here and have been very successful. Rusties, in comparison, have been, I think, more spread out but less consistent success among keepers. It's just in my opinion. I think Mitchells are probably worth, I think, at the moment, probably a little bit more than Rusties, which would be indicative of that.
Yeah, like I said, I hadn't seen many pictures of many baby Rusties. But then I kept going, "Oh, is that a Mitchell?" And then looking, and I was like, "Oh no, they're pretty similar as babies." But how have you found these? How are you keeping them? You keeping them in groups or in pairs?
Oh, mate, I've kept Mitchells for. Well, I first started keeping them, I think, around 2015 in Victoria, and I kept quite a few of them. I didn't have much success because it was early days for me. I've bred them for the first time last season because I sort of had a break where I wasn't keeping them, and then I got some off Rob in the last couple of years. As far as keeping them, mate, large indoor melamine enclosures with a reasonable sort of tub of water and that you change frequently. And at the moment, I mostly do pairs. In the past, I kept them in groups.
Okay.
But I think I lean more towards pairs nowadays with them. Just I think it's easier to manage. And also, I think the males can be a little bit rough on the girls sometimes. So I've kind of got them set up now so that the males, like an enclosure for each female, and the male can be rotated as needed.
Okay, yeah. I found when I kept them in pairs, and the male was just battering the female all the time. So when I kept him in trios, he seemed to have his work cut out to which one to pick on.
So I only bred him for the first time last season, and there's something interesting with that, which I'll get to. But I found, and this is with other species too, but I found with trios, I'd be more likely to have the other female get into the nesting box when one female's laying and eat the eggs. Just in my experience with a number of different species. And so that's why I kind of opt for pairs more now, just because I don't know what's going on necessarily if the male knows that that's, the female's, laying his eggs potentially, but I just found I don't get a lot of predation on clutches if I just maintain a pair in one enclosure.
Interesting.
I don't know.
But you've had it with other females taking the eggs of the other female.
Yeah. In
okay, that's
Scalaris, Scalaris, Mitchell's, and Tristus.
Very cool. Well, not very cool, but very interesting.
Probably Ackies. Yeah, probably Ackies as well when I had them outdoors, because I had a big colony in an outdoor enclosure, and there was definitely some stuff going on then.
That's interesting. Yeah, my group's with a friend of mine, Julian. He sent me pictures of them locking up, and I was like, mate, that's it. Once they locked, you're pretty much guaranteed to have eggs 30 days, and they'll be in the nest box. And I've been I think I messaged him yesterday. I was like, where's these eggs then? He's like, mate, there's nothing. They went down for a couple of nights, but he's got a group. I stupidly now told him to keep him in groups. So I think he's got 2 females. So maybe she's got unpinched eggs then.
Yeah, I think you got to, I don't know how you found them, but they are voracious feeders to the point they have no fear of you. Yeah, they're full on. So I think they're pretty onto it. Even as pairs, I'm actually probably gonna, if I know I've got a gravid girl, I'm probably gonna pull that male out nowadays. I think because that photo there, those 2 hatchlings both came out of that one single egg. That was the only egg I got from that, from last season. So
oh wow, that's twins.
Yeah, they're twins out of that one egg. I was pretty shocked at that. Because it was a bit of a weird egg too. It was kind of elongated in shape, and I thought, this thing's probably going to be no good, But I, incubated anyway, and then there you go. Some 146 days later, 2 of them pop out.
Wow, that's short. What temperature was that at, Will?
I generally sit around 30 degrees. I think
okay.
In summer it might get up to like 30.5. And then it might drop down to sort of maybe 29 and a half, as the thermostat does its thing.
Yeah, I think I did mine at 28.5, the same because they were in with tree monitors. They took 220 days. I was like, this is mad for an Audatria to take that long.
Well, Rob, I think he incubates at around 30 degrees as well. And I believe this season his latest clutch was, I think it was like around 130 days.
Okay.
I've got it. Yeah, well, I've got it written down somewhere, but yeah, I thought that was ridiculously quick compared, because I think we've generally found around 140, 150 days. I know Chris Hadfield incubates around 28.5 degrees as well, so he would probably be more in line with what you found. Yeah.
I just thought this is going on for ages now. I don't know. Is that the only time you bred them, Will? Just that one?
Yeah, time? I didn't have much luck in Victoria, and then I've only recently I got some young ones off of Rob, and so they're only just been getting up to size. I'm honestly shocked the female went and produced those at the size she was, to be honest.
Yeah. I don't know if you spoke to Rob at all. He's found the same thing. They go through this weird. It's not even a diaper. I don't know what it is. They sort of develop. You can see the veins in there, and then they just don't go any further. I let him know about it with the Mitchellii. So like half the clutch sometimes will get develop, look really good, and then we'll go the whole incubation, even the 220 day ones, but they'll just stay with veins inside them, and then they'll eventually just never hatch and die. It's almost like they've got a diapause that you've got in other species, but I haven't been able to work out how to get them to sort of stop doing that. And then I think Rob said he'd had it with Mitchellii and Semiramis, and I don't think he's worked out what's going on with them.
Definitely the Semiramis. I'm not too sure either what's going on there, because I haven't encountered it myself, but there's something going on, man. I know it'd be good to get Rob on at some point to explain his experiences in more detail, but definitely with the Rusties in particular, like that. He's got a lot of eggs, man, but they've been a struggle to hatch from what I know, just exactly for those reasons, I think.
Yeah, it's really, really strange. It's almost like they need like well, I tried like because they sort of come from a wet climate. I tried flooding the perlite, just
Yep.
like some other species like fly river turtles and stuff. That was scam, and then I think I tried cooling them right down and then bumping them up. But yeah, eventually, I mean, the eggs look amazing, and like I said, they candle with the veins, and then they just never hatch. So it's a weird one for sure.
Honestly, we probably just don't know enough about how, particularly rusty monitors, about what they're doing in the wild, really. Like, where do you lay your eggs in a intertidal environment,
That's it. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
do they move to somewhere that's more consistent? Are they just going up into the tops of, trees and finding, dead, hollows with, termite sort of systems in them, or, rotting debris that they burrow into and they lay them there? I don't know. We've got to probably learn more and figure them out.
Yeah, 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 yeah. There's so many, pretty much all the monitors, apart from maybe Lacey's and what's the other one that nests in the termite mounds? Rosenberg's, is it?
Yep, they
Yeah,
definitely
yeah,
do.
yeah. That's the one we know. We've definitely got some good research. I think Dave, well, Dave's definitely got pictures of them. Dave Kirshner. But yeah, these other ones, the tree monitors, all the other monitors. How did you find the Simulus? Did they just like ours? Just sorry, you'll be Sclaris over there, but most of ours don't like nesting in the nest box. They'll actually nest underneath it or in the really hard ground.
Yeah, right. I haven't had that. I generally find if you give them what they want, they go for it.
Mm,
Yeah, I definitely like. I did have Cape York female years ago that would consistently produce every season, but it was very difficult to crack what she was after specifically. I ended up giving that pair to Rob, and he also he had some limited success, but he also struggled with them. So might depend on the individual population somewhat, but yeah, some must be pickier than others, I guess I'd say.
yeah, yeah. Ours have got a lovely soft, easy to dig in
Yeah.
box of dirt, which has got to be the same temperature as what they choose to dig in, which is like really hard, crappy stuff. They must, really struggle. Some of the females look exhausted, and like there's a box there full of nice dirt. Clearly not what they
Well,
want.
when I kept them outside, I found if you had look, your enclosures are mostly concrete based. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So there's probably not a whole lot of. I don't know how much sun, how much the sun would heat that up, and then that would radiate into the ground of the enclosure. But I found with enclosures that had, sheet metal bases that would really let, the sun kind of get through and warm it up and heat up the substrate, that outdoors Scalaris, if you had a hollow that was going down into the earth, kind of like in the wild, I guess you'd say like a hollow stump, or a lot of those trees out there where they are actually hollow all the way down to the ground, but, and it was going down into a corner or somewhere where it was going to get heated up somewhat. They were going to lay there, like, you know what I mean.
yeah. So it's
So
more the heat
I don't
they were
know.
looking for rather than the consistency.
That's what I can gather at this point. Yeah, we probably don't know enough about what they're doing in the wild, but yeah, from my experience, I found it was more about getting the right temperatures probably than the actual laying material itself.
Yeah, yeah. I'm happy. Like I said, they nest in the floor, but they're always. It's like it just looks like a lot of effort. Some of them will just go in the nest box. It's not a problem at all. But yeah, a lot of them this year, particularly, went in there. It's like this looks like so much effort, but they're all good clutches,
Well,
so
yeah,
which
if it
was
works,
nice.
mate.
Yeah, it's better than just scattering them like the bloody tree monitors do sometimes.
Yeah.
Right, these back out. Where do we get to? Another one there.
Just more
Sweet.
Tristus,
Well,
mate.
really nice Tristus, those ones. Are these any different locality?
No, mate, I've bred a lot of the exact same ones for a few years now, so there's a few photos of them
No.
just to give you an
Yeah.
idea. That's just another Burdekin Scalaris on the way out. Yeah, more Burdekins there, but a bit of variation, I guess, in the clutch you can see.
They look just so much like our similars.
Yeah, interesting with them, man, is there's a ridiculous amount of variation you can get from in one clutch, like from the same, from the same parents, like even clutch to clutch over the years. Like I've found you can get completely different looking animals in terms of pattern. You can get ones that are really black and white, ones that are really grey, ones that have got more of like a tan orange through them, and then ones that have got, like almost like a Paloensis red through them, like that. They're a weird one, man. They throw all sorts of stuff. It's been kind of one of the things I've enjoyed most about keeping them, is just how much, variation you can get from a small number of animals.
What's the sort of average clutch size? I was just trying to count them there. I think there's 10 eggs there. Is that pretty standard for them?
Yeah, I believe I've generally found a range of 6 to, I want to say 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, this is something we definitely don't get.
Yeah, that's one of those, I guess Paloensis type, red blotched Scalaris, which are they're a gorgeous animal. Hey, that animal was bred by Paul Farrer, and that comes from Chris Haberfield's line, which is probably where the vast majority of Pellies in the Australian hobby have probably come from at this point, because he's been so successful with them. But they're a gorgeous monitor now. I really enjoy keeping them. And they're one that I think there's just so much potential there. Like if someone was to stick to line breeding those things now, I can only imagine. Like, I'm really keen to sort of quietly work away at them for 10 years or so and just see where it ends up.
Oh, you get a red racing stripe down the back pretty soon, I think, with those guys.
Hopefully we'll find out. Hey, I think there's more variation in them than I would have thought, particularly in terms of pattern.
Okay.
But you know how it is though. Like you start off with, I guess, your founding sort of animals, and then generation to generation, I guess you kind of refine it, and some things, get a lot more consistent, and some things just kind of make you want to beat your head against the wall a bit. So we'll find out what they're like.
Yeah. That's got to be Aki's.
I'm still on the pedal. Oh, here we go. Yeah, that's Aki's. There we go. Yeah, that's just.
There we go.
Yeah. Just got to throw in one clutch of Aki's. There we go.
Yeah. Well, they look familiar for sure.
Definitely.
Tell us about these. Any locality again, or are they just sort of a general Aki?
The only Aki I breed is these Barkley tableland ones from the Northern Territory. So I think I got those my first pair back in 2019 off of a keeper in New South Wales, and I've just sort of stuck with them, I guess, for a very long time. And I think Rob has a few of them. He's gotten a couple from me, and probably a couple from other sources. And just again, similar to the Burdekin's, mate, they're just so ridiculously variable, which has kind of kept me running with them. As I think if you go through some more photos, there's some more Aki photos there. You'll probably start to see. So that's quite a heavily patterned sort of red colored thing. But the interesting thing about that is its parents were yellow.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know what's going on with the genetics of that particular population, but Matt, like I've thrown red things, yellow things, brown things, black and white, things all in the same clutches, different patterns, and been very difficult to refine, and get them consistent at all.
Just super variable.
Yeah, like there's more. I think there's a few more photos of them. I sent through. That's the same one. He's just a nice looking lizard.
Really
I need to
take.
Yeah, there you go. There's some more that are slightly different again, but also red. I don't have too many. I need to take more photos. I need to hold more back, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I mean, they're stunning. So that one on the left is exactly the same as one on the right.
Yep, mate. They're from the same clutch.
Wow. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, a mate of mine's got some, and for whatever reason, most of his turned out, proper black and white. Like no red at all. I think the most difficult, I guess, phenotype you call it, that I found to consistently produce would be the yellow ones, which is, somewhat like, I guess, like a northwest Queensland sort of Dejara Mount Isa yellow, but they're just very heavily patterned. But they've been difficult to, to sort of reproduce, man. Like I can't say I really understand their genetics at all at this point in time. Still figuring it out.
No. Going to be a tricky one to line breed then.
Yeah, good thing I like them, man. I'll just stick with them. They're a really good sized Aki, man. Like they will get exceed 60 centimeters pretty regularly as adults, even get up towards
Okay.
70. And they're generally, although there's variation, once they get to adult size and they're mature, they're generally pretty heavily patterned compared to a lot of the other ones I've found. Yeah.
Are you keeping these indoors, Will?
Yeah, indoors at the moment. I might play around with putting them outside. I've got some ideas of some sort of greenhouse type setups.
Yeah.
But yeah, just for the ease at the moment, man, they do so well. Like, they're such a resilient species that honestly thrives in captivity. Like,
Yeah, definitely.
Up north, I had them outside in big aviaries with full of rocks and hollows, and they'd climb up 2 meters off the ground, and had colonies in there together. It was great fun, man.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and a big enclosure. I bet they're amazing. Something a lot of people don't get to see. Just keeping them indoors.
100%, man. It's like indoor keeping for me nowadays is a necessity, right? To sort of keep things rolling this far south. But it's outdoor keeping is what I enjoy all day, 100%. Yeah, there you go. That's another burdekin there that's got a bit of sort of reddish orange through it.
No way.
I
was going to say this was another one of those Paleoensis then.
Yeah, no, that's 100%. Yeah, burdekin. That's kind of me starting, I guess, to kind of line breed them a bit now. Now that I've got a few, bred a few and held a few back over the years. I think this should be the next photo. Hopefully, will be one that's quite different looking, but still a burdekin.
Yeah. Interesting.
So yeah, just variation, mate, in genetics. It's just good fun to kind of play around with.
Oh yeah. 100%. Yeah, we, like I said, our Similis, we get a lot of variation in pattern, but not so much that rub. When we go through the Sclera stuff later, I'll show you those ones. The Similis we're working with. But yeah, that's cool to see how much red's come through on that. So maybe I've got a little project with the Similis now, which would be good.
Mate, I reckon you'll surprise yourself. Hey, seriously, I think that's another Barkley Aki there. That's kind of more consistent. That's a young one that I bred last season. He's now around a year old, and
nice, really nice contrast.
Yeah, you can see he's really starting to develop that bold patterning that they get, and he based on what I've seen, he's probably going to go fairly yellow, even though he looks pretty red right now.
Okay.
Yeah, the yellow, for whatever reason, takes years, man, to really develop. It's weird. It's really hard to pick them when they're little. Like, I've probably sold some absolute crackers and never had a clue. Or undoubtedly I have,
Yeah. What are these? Flavirufus?
No, it's Spencer's.
Oh, Spencer's, is it? Okay.
Yeah, there's another photo there too. It should be a little bit closer up. That's an old iPhone shot. That's why it's probably not great.
Okay. Yeah. Oh wow, stunning.
Yeah. So, mate, they're gorgeous when they're little. Hey, I mate hatched some out recently as well, and they were just stunning as well. There's something else when they're babies, but
yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that. That's what caught me off guard. The amount of red that was on its back. Then I don't think I've ever seen him out the egg. I didn't know. They started off like that. Incredible.
Yeah, so I put a fair bit of effort into them when I was up north, and I unfortunately only bred them once. They've been really, they're a problematic one. Like, especially, I think a lot of Australian people that have put effort in them, at least in recent years, would probably agree. Like, I know from talking to Rob and some other people, I think it's been very limited success. But I did breed them once when I was up there before I came down, and then when I came down, I had them in a big 4 meter pit in the garage for a bit. And I kind of, after a while, decided this isn't great. I'd rather give them to mates. Hopefully they can put them outside and do better with them. So I went in that direction. But now I'm back somewhere I can do outdoor stuff. So a mate was very kind to give me a young group now that I'm raising up. So I'll have another crack at them. But yeah, the difficult species to consistently produce, 100%, seriously.
Why do you think that is?
So they're built for probably one of the most extreme environments on the continent. If you're familiar with the Mitchell Grass Downs and the Black Soil Plains, it kind of alternates between completely drought-stricken and nothing but barren soil sort of plains with soil cracks to almost, an inland sea at times, right? And so these things are kind of really built for that boom or bust, sort of survival strategy. And I think that's extremely difficult to replicate in captivity. And the biggest issue with them has been complications with breeding females. That's myself. That's I don't know how many people want to get named, but there's a number of keepers that have found that, including like wildlife or zoos or wildlife parks. I know have had similar issues, and I got to think it's something. It's probably a combination of factors, but probably something to do with they're not, moving around and digging and being as active as they would in the wild. They'd probably have to put a lot of effort in when the going's good out there to survive, and then they've got prolonged periods where they're probably not doing much at all, and they're getting absolutely no food whatsoever. And I think they probably just get a bit, overweight and not developed as well as they could be. And I think the females struggle with because they produce very large clutches. I think like they do, they have the biggest clutches of any Australian monitor species, up to, exceeding 30 eggs.
Oh, wow.
So I think there's definitely more to them to figure out. I mean, ideally you'd be over in the Northern Territory. I think like Gavin Bedford and it's Trevor Sullivan or something. Yeah. Back at years ago when they were pumping them out for the hobby, I think early on. That's the way you probably want to do it. Have them in big outdoor enclosures over in the Territory or at least far north Queensland, like Peter Krause.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think
the one sorry, Will, got a bit of a lag. All the ones I've seen in, we just have quite a few in Europe, and they're quite good. I think a lot of them went over to the States, but then they just seemed really obese. Like I said, they need starving, I'd imagine. I've seen some pictures of people that have been there in the dry, I guess it is, and they're just like rakes. And, all the hip bones are showing and everything, but then obviously they can be this beautiful, robust sort of monitor as well. So yeah, I don't think many people are starving them. What sort of price are they in Australia? They're super expensive outside.
Mate, there's only been one bloke, I think, in the last, probably getting close to 10 years now in Australia that's been consistently producing them, as far as I'm aware. And that'd be Peter Dausch up in North Queensland. And when I was younger, I think you could probably pick them up for around maybe I want to say 650, around that mark, maybe. When I produced those, I ended up selling them for, I think, around 800. And then I think more recently now, there's just a total lack of people consistently producing them. I think they're probably up around $1,000 now, which is cheap compared to overseas, from what I'm aware.
Yeah. I can't remember I think they were like maybe $6,000 or something stupid like that. But it's probably the reason why nobody wants to starve and give no water to a Spencer's that's costing $6,000. So I don't know if that was the same in Australia, where people don't want to treat them mean.
To be honest with you, I just don't think. I think a lot of the ones that were getting produced were going to people that were probably more pet minded because they're known for having such a great disposition.
Yes.
There are, a handful of people definitely working with them seriously here in Australia, but a lot of them are in the southern states. And I just, like, even in southeast Queensland, man, like, I know it's going to be a struggle. Like, I think I'm going to have to do big outdoor things that I greenhouse so they get absolutely baked over summer, and then make sure over winter, like, they get cold, but they stay as dry as I can possibly keep them. I just think people do struggle with them, man. They're not an easy one to crack. Townsville was me breeding them in Townsville was nothing. I was in the right place, and kind of just over the years I was there, kind of just had the opportunities to sort of have some success. But yeah, unless you're in the right climate, I think they're a very challenging one. I had multiple gravid females that got egg bound, for example, too, right? And I was keeping them outdoors in large enclosures. And I'm not the only one. I know of quite a few people and zoological institutions that have lost females to getting egg bound. So there's definitely something there to figure out, which, is particularly if you've got something like, overseas, I guess, it's worth that much and it's potentially prone to getting egg bound. You're probably going to baby it a little bit and probably,
They all just look, too, overweight is one word for it, but just too stocky. But yeah, if you see a picture of a wild one, they're roaming around, the Barclays and stuff, they just look so bad. You're like, how can that be the same monitor?
Yeah, you can find them and it's shocking, hey. But then you can also go out there when they're kind of in their prime time, and man, I've seen some massive wild Spencers, like just monstrous and so ridiculous. Tails well thicker than my forearm, like easily. So you got to wonder what's going on there. I think they get to a point where they've lived long enough and they've consumed enough other living things that as an adult, particularly the adult males, they can just hold that body condition, for extended periods of time. They're just built for it. But yeah, it's a difficult thing to do correctly, I guess, in captivity, particularly with breeding females that are going to fluctuate more.
Yeah, I just think it's a lot, but I'd say it on here all the time. It's really hard to get the weight off them once you've got it on with. But those, they're used to having to keep that weight on with that boom and bust sort of thing. So those ones they're probably not eating for 6 months out of the year, something like that. It gets pretty bad out there.
Probably, man. I mean, 2019, I think, yeah. The end of 2019 going into 2020 was when I guess we started getting more rainfall events out in that part of the country. And I remember herping there at the end of, I think, roughly a 7 to 10 year drought period in 19. And man, it was brutal. If you found one emaciated, half dead Spencer's monitor, you'd done well. Whereas now it's been consistent rain season after season, almost the whole time since then. And you can go out, man, and you can see a lot of Spencer's monitors, like just ridiculous numbers.
From what I've seen the last couple of years, they seem to be pretty common. People finding a fair few of them a day. But that's an interesting point you made there, Will. It's not just, I was just thinking maybe 6 months they don't get to eat or whatever. But if they have a prolonged drought period, then it could be, years maybe, where they're not getting much, not much water at all.
6 months is nothing to them, I don't think. I had a mate in Victoria that kept one in a garage, down in Melbourne over winter, basically. I'm pretty sure that thing didn't get fed once for, probably 6 months. And I don't think it lost any body condition whatsoever. But they're really built for those prolonged, drought cycles where you have 5 or more years where the country out there just barely sees any rain. And that's when I guess that's the real selection pressure for those populations, and selects for the animals that can really outlast,
Yeah, for sure. So talking about herping, mate, let's get off the captive stuff. That was really interesting, mate. Like I said, a lot of species there that we won't get to ever see, but we've got enough overseas so people don't get jealous. The Aussies have got keep their collections well as well.
You got plenty, mate, over there, particularly where you are. My word.
Yeah, we're spoiled. That's what annoys me with people. Oh, we want all this Australian. We're super lucky with the amount of Australian stuff. They did manage to find its way out, and then people still want more and more. It's like, do you realize these Aussie guys can't keep 90% of the species out there?
Yeah, 100%, man. And I love the Australian stuff. I really do. I'm very content with it. But you've got access to some pretty crazy stuff over there, man. That there's some incredible animals, definitely.
But it's interesting to see. So just got on the captive stuff. The amount of people that are working. You've chucked a few names out there. I have to write those down and try and get them on the podcast for sure. But yeah, is the monitor hobby like still a small sector of what's going on in Australia, or is it growing? Or
man, it definitely grew from when I started. Definitely, for sure, massively. I'd say things have kind of stagnated now to a degree. Maybe more as a whole, like just from my point of view. Probably more to do with economic conditions with the country and that kind of limiting people's disposable incomes and whatnot and what they can do. But reptiles would be growing. I think it's just, if you're in the money side of things, it's probably slowed down. But if you're a reptile keeper, man, it's pretty big. And monitors are doing well, but they're obviously just also quite resource intensive compared to pythons. So that's going to take, that's going to be a more specific person than someone that's going to get into breeding more Fantaresia or carpet pythons. It's pretty big, man. I'd say overall, and much bigger than it was years ago when I first started.
Yeah, and the amount of species you seem to be able to get now is pretty good on the Audatria side. I've seen a lot more, probably from looking at Rob's page. I didn't realize you had that sort of range of stuff. Is anyone keeping? Obviously, don't say, but anyone keeping Glebopalma, if you know, legally or whatever?
No. I've seen them in multiple private collections here in Queensland, legally on the books. A mate of mine's, doing a great job with them. Like, you know, as far as questions about legally, the parks officers have literally been there and he's pulled the animals out of the enclosure for them to look at, you know.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that you know, so it's definitely above board. But yeah, I think there's going to be some pretty good movement there in the near future. I checked with him beforehand, so he's given me the all clear. But basically, I've got a mate that does have a gravid female at the moment that's digging, and he's got
Oh, wow.
footage of it digging, and it's clearly gravid. He's got footage of them mating because he's been extremely committed to the species and put a lot of effort in. Like he's got cameras up in the lay tub and in the enclosure and everything, so he can watch everything that's going on and sort of document it. So he's given me that footage, but I'm not too sure about how to share that on this. But yeah, I'll leave it at that for now. But I think
that's really
I think for a long time there was a very small number of people that kind of had a monopoly on the species, and for whatever reason there just wasn't a whole lot going on as far as I'm aware. I could be wrong, right?
no, yeah.
But yeah, it'd be awesome to see some photos of some captive bred hatchling glebos coming out of eggs. Like it's been a long time coming, because I think a lot of the Australian hobby for decades has been quite secretive to a degree.
Yeah, like I said, that's why I wanted to be careful, because I didn't really know the ins and outs of them of the glebo palmer. But I've been searching forums and stuff. The old I think it was the old Australian Python forum or something like that. There was a monitor bit on there, and then just like I type glebo palmer is obviously one of my favorite species, so I'd type in anything to do with glebo palmer. It's like there's like
me too.
Yeah, there's like this one odd pair, or there's this other. And I think Gavin had some. I spoke to Gavin about them, and he was like, nobody wanted them when I offered them out. People just thought they were. I can't remember. Who said they either wanted. I think they might have wanted Kimberley rock monitors more at the time, or something like that. Maybe they were quite rare. Going back, it's like nobody bothered with them.
The monitor scene of things is very, very different to back then, I'd say. I know Bedford obviously had a permit, and he wild collected a few, including a gravid female, and hatched out offspring from them many years ago. And since then, I don't know exactly where those animals went, but I know when I was around 12, I met Cliff Guest, who was Gold Coast Monitors at the time. He got out of the hobby, but he had at least 2 glebo palmer back then. When I was like 12 or 13, man, I remember seeing photos of those from him and talking to him about them. And so, they've been around in a small number of people's hands, mostly, as far as I'm aware, in Queensland. But it's just one of those species, I think, where it's probably been very limited success.
I'd just love to know how what they would like to keep, really, because they're obviously so spooky when you try and find them. So I don't know. I'm guessing they're probably the same in captivity. Maybe they calm down. It'd be interesting to know.
Oh, look, it's not. I'll comment to a degree, but it's obviously not really my story to tell. So I'm going to try and do my best to sort of stay in line with what my mate probably. But mate, from what I've seen, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. Another bloke I know, he kept them and he had them outdoors in large naturalistic enclosures, and he said he never saw them. But like a lot of dwarf monitors, if you have them in, like, not necessarily indoors, but in an environment where they are set up and they feel safe and secure, that they will come out. And he's a pretty freaking good man. They'll be right. I wouldn't be too worried about never seeing the things, especially when they get,
I'll never be
able
to
over a meter long.
I'm happy for you guys. I'll be happy to. Like I said, I'd love to be able to come over to Oz and see them in some collections for sure. Yeah, like I said, that's a really good.
Come over and see them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I just like I said, they just seem such an enigma over there. For like I said, for so many years, probably looking 20 years, I've been searching for them, and then I heard little whispers of some people keeping them. But it was a bit hush hush, and then so that's nice to hear. That's a good way. Go on, sorry.
I agree, mate. Growing up, like, those things had damn near mythical status. Like they were up there with an Owen Pelly, really, for me, as far as like just the mysticism around them, and Twilight Monitor, and the lack of photos of them and all that. Like they're just an incredible animal. I don't really want to see them get into the hobby too much personally, because I don't want it to kind of take away from that mythical kind of aspect to them.
For sure.
But
I
like. yeah, I wouldn't be too worried necessarily about in that regard, though. But I mean, I obviously, preferably, I don't want to see them end up overseas to some degree as well. Because
Yeah.
yeah, it'd be nice to have a couple of things that stay in Australia, I guess, if I'm being,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get, not me personally, but the hobby outside of Australia just spoiled. And I totally agree with you. You should have some stuff that we can dream of, because it loses a bit of a allure once you get offered them or whatever. But yeah, they're so cool. Do you know what locality they work? Is it the Queensland type they're working with, or is it the stuff from sort of Gavin's Northern Territory stuff?
I'd have to check as to the lineages, man, to be honest with you. Yeah, I probably can't comment on that too much.
No,
but from my understanding in the past, I know through at least one, if not more, avenues. Like, I'm talking like, man, not 10 years, maybe not 10 years ago, but quite a few years ago, I know Queensland animals have come into the hobby.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
They just got a bit of a different look. From like I said, I don't know how variable those are compared to the Queensland, so I'll be interested. I've only ever seen the Northern Territory ones in person, so that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Like I said, Glebe Palmer. I'm glad they're glad they're over there. That's awesome. Which leads us. Go on, sorry,
I was going to say just quickly. I'm just glad they're in some dedicated, capable hands of someone that's really putting the effort into do something with the species, really, and it's not necessarily, motivation of the potential value of the animals or, trying to, do something big in the hobby. It's just for the passion of the animals, which is nice for a change.
That's good, and especially for that species as well, which most people probably aren't as passionate as the guy that's probably got them and me and you about them. So that's really cool to hear. I don't know if you can talk about this. Is there any reason you can't keep Keith Horneye in Queensland? They've just never been on the license, or that just seems another weird one. That's a bit of an enigma.
So
if you can't
technically,
talk about it, just
I can talk about aspects. You know what I mean? Like I kind of know what would limit. So as far as I'm aware, Australia Zoo is the only institution, or probably even individual that's been granted take permits for the species, as far as I'm aware, right? Queensland basically in 2020 roughly changed everything from, there was no list, so anything could kind of technically be kept, to having a very clear list of what could now be kept, right? Keith Horneye, maybe at one point in time there was an avenue, but they're not on the list now, so it'd definitely be a heck of a lot more challenging,
right,
for someone to try and. I think maybe there might be a zoological institution somewhere up north, perhaps, that might have an avenue there at some point. But I think the private individual would probably be struggling at this point to find some way to maneuver that one. But I don't think it's as bad as.
I said, it just seems weird that you can do the Prasinus now for the last I don't know how many years, but the last recent years, but that one got left off.
Yeah,
I don't know what way around that was.
I think by the time there was an awareness of what was going on with them, it was kind of it was a bit late. You know what I mean? Like, they were in a number of people's hands and being legitimately bred, and they were sort of out there, and it's I think you'd get a lot of pushback from people that have spent tens of thousands of dollars on those animals.
Okay.
I think they would have had a bit of a task on their hands. So yeah, but what I was going to say is, I think in Queensland, as far as I'm aware, there's only 2 species that are actually of monitors anyway. Crocodiles are technically prohibited as well, but that's different for the moment. There's only 2 species that are actually stated as prohibited, and that's pygmy blue tongues and blue-tailed monitors. Varanus dorianus. So Keith Horneye aren't technically, I guess, prohibited, right? So you never know, but I'm not optimistic, if I'm being honest.
No, well, they're just. I don't know if there's any zoological institutions that are keeping them. The Keith one, no, it just seems to be Australia Zoo, and then they've stopped now. Clearly, I think I don't know if it's true, but he re-released the adults and the babies.
I believe that was a condition of the permit. They had to. I don't think they were like, again. Please, for the love of God, get someone on here that can correct me.
No. This is all anecdotal.
it's more just there's so much information over the years. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm doing my best to kind of remember everything and sort of bring it up as accurately as I can. But I think it was for research purposes maybe, and they were able to collect some, breed them in captivity, learn about them, but then I think they had to then release them.
Interesting. Yeah. Anyway, that's maybe one that no one will get to keep, and it gets to stay where it comes from, I suppose.
Yeah,
stay in
that's all right. I'm okay with that. Hey, a few things should stay out there.
Yeah, for sure. Let me. Oh, it's going to get tricky again, mate. I'm going to bring up your Instagram so we can get onto some of the bits. Obviously, some of the first pictures on there are the Glebopalmer, I think. Can you see that?
Yep, we're good.
So I'm just going to click. I'm going to ignore your beautiful snake photos and get to. So yeah, for anyone that is wondering what me and Will have been rambling on about, these are the Varanus Glebopalmer. Do you want to tell us a little bit about these, Will? About that one in particular?
Oh, look, I'm going to limit it to say, obviously, that's a Queensland animal. I'm not going to get too specific on location, but they're a fascinating animal that occurs, all across a lot of northern Australia and rock escarpments, and although they probably do extend beyond those, because a mate of mine's, was driving out there in an area where you couldn't see any rock at all, and there was one on the road. It took off and it got away from him, but there's probably more going on to them. But yeah, they definitely like their rock escarpments and rocky habitats. Very, very sleek, extremely fast monitor, like ridiculous. Just out there, kind of, lurking around, just hunting everything they can possibly, overpower and consume, really.
Yeah, well, I think I just read on there. That one you found, regurgitated an Aki. That's super interesting.
Yes, yeah. While photographing that one, it regurgitated the tail and the back legs of probably a subadult ridgetail mono. So from that, I probably said it would have been around sort of 40 to 50 centimeters. That animal itself was about, I believe, 90 centimeters total length. So yeah, they're definitely out there smashing the other dwarf monitor species, that's for sure. Which, mate, you know how many Akis are out there. My word, there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of the things.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a good little a good meal for them for sure. I'm just surprised that it just sat there so so beautifully for you, mate. Knowing what they're like.
They're not easy, and not an easy one, mate, by any means. That's there's been a bit of effort put in.
Sweet. And then again, for people that don't know, this was a Spencer's monitor. So these are the ones that have it pretty harsh and then pretty good. So that's a pretty healthy looking one.
Yeah, there's a good little series there. I think there's a few of them through there. You can click through, but they're pretty much all in situ shots, just for a bit of fun. Just trying to get more naturalistic photos. That's kind of what I've been enjoying nowadays more than anything. And just sort of showcasing a bit of the variation across the distribution.
That one looks a bit raky on the back end.
Yeah, that female would have probably just laid a clutch.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, you can go out there, mate, and pretty much every female you'll find will either be gravid, a bowling ball, or it'll be completely emaciated and just laid, at times, But yeah, I think there's a lot of Spencer's photos there. So I guess as we go through, I can sort of point out, some of the different geographic variation you see amongst them, because there is a bit of differences.
On that series, mate, or further on the Instagram?
Oh, just as we go, for context, that first photo, that was a Barclay tableland animal, But as we go, I'll point it out, I guess.
Where do you want me to go next, mate?
Are we on the Spencers or wherever you like, man? Honestly, you just.
I think there's a bit of a lag. So I went through the pictures, but I think it's lagging your end.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Just that's a whole mix there, man, of across the distribution. So I think if we get to individual photos, it'll be easier. But a lot of those were Barclays, but there's a couple others in there as well. And
can you see the Instagram page again? I think there's a super lag, mate. So just tell me when I'm back on.
I think we're back on now. You just you tell me when you've got a photo up.
That's Inchelanicus or
You
Citrinus.
sure? Yeah, Citrinus.
I was going to say.
Yeah, they're a great little lizard. Hey, I've found them quite a few of them over the years, but before they were described, and this is the first time I've been out there since they were described as Citrinus. They used to just be Gulf Country Ackies or what. I think Bedford, I think, suggested the name years ago, like Varanus aloi.
Aloi, yeah.
Yeah, they've had a couple of different names. I think even the Blue Stripe Monitor or something. Like Gunther, in Gunther's book, he had some stuff going on with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had some great photos of them. But yeah, that's just a nice adult male there from the Gulf Country, and we found a few of those there, which I was surprised because the conditions were pretty brutal at the time. It's late dry season, and it was 40 degrees at least every day, and extremely dry.
So what is the sort of habitat there? I've never been to that region of Australia, mate. What's it like, rocky outcrops, or is it more like the Barclays, or it's at the top of the Barclays, isn't it? Sort of that Gulf country, a bit further over.
Yeah. It's not as extreme as the proper Barclay tableland, I guess you'd say, in terms of habitat. It's a lot more tropical savanna, like monsoonal, so it dries right out, but then it does get properly, inundated. With intermixed, I guess, with some pretty significant rocky escarpment type habitats, but yeah, definitely a lot of savanna, that's for sure.
Yeah. And then these guys, do you find them in the rocks or under rocks?
Mate, I reckon they'd be all through it. Hey,
all through it.
Yeah. They'd make use of every nook and cranny that is suitable to them. I think that they're very, very adept. Just like any of the ridgetail monitors. They're good at what they do.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that. You haven't been over to the Pilbara yet, Will?
No, I haven't been to WA, mate.
Yeah. You need to get over there. There's loads you're missing over there, I'd imagine. I know I was going to say those Pilbara type Ackies, there's a population of them, and you won't find, well, again, this is very anecdotal. I've never found one on the ground underneath a rock. They all seem to be in the actual, like, in crevices. But maybe that's just sort of.
Are they those pygmy ones?
They look more like they're not really a pygmy. I found a fairly sort of Ackie size one. They look quite a lot like a Stores. I'll send you some pictures after, mate, so you can see what I'm on about.
Yeah, I think I'm familiar with your photos, but I think there was something about maybe I think someone might have said something about them potentially being slightly smaller, but yeah, you'd know way better than me. I've got zero experience in that area.
No, it was so long ago now, mate. You were talking probably 10 years ago. They might have been smaller, because I remember saying, "Oh, these are just like Stores monitors, or like a cross between a Stores and Ackie." But then I remember looking at my photo now and one looking big, but it could just be perception. So, like I said, I haven't been over there for years to have a look.
I believe from memory in the Citrinus description paper, they looked at a lot of the different Ackie population genetics, and I think there might have been a line or two about those Pilbara ones and supposedly the dwarf ones from Barrow Island, I want to say, and that they looked at them and they didn't find them significantly divergent. But I'm not a geneticist by any means. You know what I mean? But
I don't think they got the right. Yeah, I don't think they got the right Pilbara Ackies from when I read it. Yeah, they're pretty localized to a certain spot there. And then I've sent, like I said, I sent Ross over there, and then he couldn't find them. I've just think I've been really lucky with finding them. Spoke to a few other people, and yeah, they're not the easiest ones to find compared to like your normal ones you get around Port Hedland and stuff.
Yeah, plenty more to look into. Hey.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, that's why I don't believe that paper. Like I said before this, and you might agree, I'm a hell of a splitter, so I'd split them all up if it was up to me. Yeah, that's what. Yeah, they just seem so different. But like I said, I don't know. I just don't think they got the right population. They need to go back and do some work. Do you remember who did that paper? Was it Jason?
Oh, I think the lead author was. I'm probably going to butcher his name, but I believe Carlos Pavon Vasquez.
Okay.
And then you had, I think, because I don't believe he's Australian. I think he was possibly from America. And then there were some Australian authors as well, but I'd have to double check. Yeah, I think it was a bit of a group effort, I guess. I think there was a few names attached to it, certainly more than when things were being described back in the day by Mertens and Store.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
You know.
Yeah, I'm guessing they were probably working off museum specimens as well, which might not have had the greatest locality data. I don't know. Anyway, they need to go back and look at those Pilbara ones. Maybe keep them secret, and they can just be my little thing.
Yeah.
I just had to show that one again. Another beautiful portrait of a Glebo.
Yeah,
they're so
great lizards. Hey.
Oh, I can look at them all day, mate. We'll get into these, and like I said, me and Will are going to wrap up with doing a deep dive into Simulus/Scalaris to wrap it all up, because nobody's really talked about it definitely not on a podcast, and there's a lot to be talked about with them. So we maybe just skip over that one for now. We'll leave them other ones, unless you want to touch on them. We can leave them till later, mate.
I'll leave them till later.
Yeah. Spoiler me, look, I can see more Glebo pictures. This isn't a Glebo, this is obviously an Aki, a ridge-tailed one, a really nice yellow one. Is that near Dajara somewhere, or?
That one is actually
Don't be specific, obviously, but towards that end.
Yeah, north of Dajara, that's for sure. But yeah, definitely northwest Queensland.
Nice.
There's a good series of in situ Aki shots somewhere there, but they does kind of show some of the variation. This one goes to a Tristis and then an Ocreatus, but just I thought might be interesting to bring up as well that, you know, everyone thinks that yellow Akis come from Dajara or Mount Isa. Mate, I've found a lot of Akis out there, and a lot of them aren't yellow. You know, you get some absolute crackers, but you get a lot of reds and oranges and browns and all sorts of things directly alongside them. You know.
Yeah. So sort of the odd one out. I think Scott was on Scott Iper with Ty, and he was like, "Yeah, they don't all look like that. That's 1 in 10, 1 in 100, whatever it is."
Yeah. Oh, look, the yellows are common, but it's mostly, you know, the real nice yellows are mostly these big old males. I tend to find that have really coloured up for breeding. And then the young ones, you definitely get a bit of a mix, you know, of everything in between, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, definitely there's yellows there, but they're not all yellow.
Yeah, for sure. Another cracker, Glebo Palmer shot there.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
So good. Yeah, I could, like I said to you before, I could just go out to Australia and look for them, and then everything else would be bycatch for me.
Mate, that's kind of what I've been doing for a while now, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah. A nice Tristis there.
Yeah, that's a nice one. That's what do you reckon? What subspecies do you reckon that is? If you believe in subspecies.
Tristis to me.
Yeah, okay. It's there's an interesting zone there out in the Brigalow where to the east of them you'll get things that are much more orientalis, and then west of that you'll get things that are obviously much darker Tristis, more typical of Tristis. You know, if you know, depending on your view on the subspecies split or beyond that, I guess. But that's one of those interesting ones. It's kind of from in between, in my opinion. You know, so I'm not quite too sure what to put on that, but yeah, they're a pretty nice little population.
Not that I've seen them in the wild for sure. I thought what I would class as orientalis, which probably needs to be its own species, are those really smaller ones with the sort of light ocelli. They're a lot smaller than the normal Tristis, but that's me just being me.
Oh mate, you get some big oris up north. I tell you what, up in North Queensland, I've seen there's not freaking big males.
But they're not Tristis. They are. You think those are Tristis orientalis?
Oh look, I think there's that.
That's the problem with it at the moment, is if it doesn't have, at one point in the hobby in Europe, if it didn't have a black head, it was Tristis orientalis, which is just ridiculous, as you know. You get those ones up in most of them don't have a black head, apart from, you know, on that western side, and then the the ones from the red center and stuff. And then somebody, I can't remember who was explaining to me, it might have been Ricky or someone, was like, no, the real orientalis are like quite a bit like those rock monitors you showed. Obviously a little bit bigger than those. And they've got like very light ocelli. Then you see some big Tristis that have got that as well. So it's a tricky one. It's probably a mess.
So you'll see there's definitely going to be some photos of oris.
Yeah.
But in my experience, in my opinion, for what it's worth, man, Orientalis only occur in Queensland.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
seem to be somewhat potentially separated in the north of the range with proper Tristis tristis, at least in like a genetic flow kind of way, due to, I think, the Gulf Plains and the Carpentarian Gap, which is a known biogeographic barrier that splits a few taxa. For example, I think it was mentioned in the Citrinus paper with like Appies and Citrinus and stores. And then along the edge of the Black Soil Plains and the Mitchell Grass Downs, around sort of Hughenden and south from there, on the eastern side of that, you'll get very clearly Orientalis animals that can, just, we can get into what actually, obviously that's an Ori right there.
Yeah.
And then when you get down to the base of that sort of, the Mitchell Grass Downs that are around places like Barcaldine and that, you go east of there, very quickly you can run into Ori type things. You go west, Barcaldine's Tristis, it's kind of this mixing pot almost, in my opinion, that then extends down past through the New South Wales border.
Right.
And if I had to theorize, I'd say, at some point in time, there wasn't a lot of genetic flow between the ones from potentially northeastern Queensland and the remainder of their range potentially. And so they kind of diverged a bit more. But obviously, I think because you had all those sort of glacial cycles and periods of rudification, in Australia's sort of recentish history, which probably would have had some degree of play. I wouldn't be surprised if things got a little bit distinct and then they kind of came back again, and you know what I mean? There was just this kind of this ongoing process, that makes it a bit difficult to split them. But definitely in the north of their range, in my opinion, a Tristis from Mount Isa with a nice light head color, that's not an Ori, in my opinion. That's Tristis Tristis.
That's the point I was making. Like I said, I don't know how widespread they were. I thought they were a bit more, the ones that I've seen, similar to that one, but that, like you said, that's quite a big one. But the head, even the head shape on that one that was just up there looks a bit different to what you get with a normal Tristis. But yeah, it was just everyone in the hobby was going, I've got Tristis orientalis. I was like, I think there might have been there was some red-headed Tristis that they were calling orientalis, but even those I think were a bit like you just said then, just a lighter coloured Tristis.
I've never seen anything in the overseas trade that looks at all like an orientalis to me, or at least not a pure orientalis.
No, 100% agree. I'm glad you said that. I've had a few arguments with people. So I was like, that's really nice Tristis, but it's not an orientalis. They're something very unique.
Yeah.
Get that back up. Sorry, mate. It's horrible not being able to see your face. Usually I have two screens so I can look at you and then this, but now I'm just looking at pretty lizards.
Yes, all good, mate. All good.
Gosh, every Glebo picture I see, I'm going to have to bring up, mate. There's not much more to say about them. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's an in situ shot there. So that was a nice young animal that, early one morning was confident enough to hang out. I was probably only, 3 to 4 meters away from that one.
Nice.
And he was just basking, and I managed to get some okay shots, thankfully. Whereas in that same morning, I saw a couple others. One was a juvenile that was, probably 30 meters away at the top of a rock tower. And I'd come around the corner and I'd see it, and then it'd duck off, and I'd hide again, and I'd come back every time, and there was another one that was an adult, like probably one of the biggest I've seen, that I was actually tracking it. I sort of saw its tracks in the sand at the base of all these rock formations, and I realized it double backed on me, and I heard something. And so I kind of climbed up onto one of these rock towers, and I was sort of looking down, and I've seen it shoot up a rock face. And this is like a 4-foot lizard shooting up, 5-6 meters up a vertical rock face in less than a split second. It just blew my mind really as to how fast these things are. And it shot into a crevice. So obviously I disturbed it, and it had kind of tried to be, sort of clever about it, but then decided to just bolt. And so I sort of sat at the top of this rock tower and waited for it to come back out with my camera. And it came back out, looked straight at me, and went back in the crevice, and that was that. I probably could have hung around there for hours, mate. Yeah, that's it. They're very switched on, but sometimes you get lucky and you get one that's chilled out.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of Glauterai up in Canara, and they're literally run into a crevice, and then within 2 minutes sometimes poke their head out and come back
Mm.
out. I've sat for hours, seen a flash of a tail is usually what I see. Of that sort of cream coloured yellow tail going into a crevice, and then just sat there for hours and never come back out. So they can be a pain.
Yeah, they're good at what they do. Hey.
Yeah. Oh, they're just the best. Get that back out.
There's a couple decent ori shots there actually to give you an idea. Yeah, sort of
Where am I looking?
next to the stores there, for example.
This one?
Yeah. So that's a Tristis orientalis from the Ainslie Uplands in North Queensland or Northeast Queensland, and that'd be a good sized adult male. That he would have been up around 60 centimeters pretty easily. But there's more subtle features, obviously, that sort of distinguish them, I guess, from the light coloured head tristis, to do with the head structure and to a degree the pattern and everything. But just to give you an idea, really.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it just seems a lot more delicate, the heads on a lot of the real orientalis I've seen, and then like I said, that really light pattern. I'm skipping over all these Sclaris and similar. Story. I've never found a story, in Australia. No, never. And everyone's like, they're so easy, and I was like, I've driven past like prime, must be Oculatus now, habitat like Halls Creek and stuff, and then just never bothered to look for them. But I need to get out there and find them for sure.
Mate, I've seen a lot of stores, mate. I love the things. Even to the point I got a good mate of mine, Martin Titley. He's found a lot of good monitors. You should probably get him on his Aussie Herper on Instagram. Even to the point,
Spoke to him last year about he found the Glauterai in Kakadu.
Yep, definitely. Bloody good. He's a phenomenal herper. But I've been on trips with him, and I've looked at habitat, and I go, I reckon there's stores there, and he's like, we're not going to go looking for more stores, mate. You've found enough, It's just, it's bad. I just enjoy seeing not just one of a species, but as many as I can to kind of understand them better. Yeah. They're an interesting one.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so I'm not going to say obviously exactly where, but they're from very far south in their distribution, like almost getting towards central Queensland. Those couple of shots there. And again, they're very much a tropical savanna thing. Just anywhere there's rocks, essentially, really, you'll find them. But yeah, that's just a nice little southern population that's actually fairly large. I think both of those were getting up towards 40 centimeters, almost there. Which is reasonable for them. You'll see. There's plenty of stores photos there, throughout the page. People can check out. Just some nice lizards there.
And what sort of habitat for people that don't know where you are finding those stores? Well, not them particularly, but any stores.
Look, mate, they are more diverse than you would think. Predominantly tropical savannas, sort of weathered, sort of rocky ridgelines and outcrops, and even just, mate, you can get one rock in a paddock and there'll be a stores under it, sort of thing. But then you'll also get them in much more extensive habitat. They do actually get to the coastline in the vicinity of Cooktown, and you can find them in some pretty lush habitat. I haven't, but a mate has. Which was really interesting. And then obviously they go pretty far inland to approaching sort of the black soil plains of Mitchell grass, where it's rough where they are. I feel for the poor things out there. Sometimes you go out there and it's 40 degrees and there's a rock like that big and there's just poor little stores under it waiting for rain.
I was just about to say Charters Tower. I just seen your caption on there. That was the place that we always used to get told about was Charters Towers on there.
Yeah, I put Charters Towers. I'll be honest. I put Charters Towers on that post, but those ones aren't really from Charters. They're from
no. But that's a good. That is a mecca for them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the honeypot for sure. Yeah, there's a lot of them there.
Yeah, and then they just found under rocks or again in rocks.
Predominantly beneath rocks, but they'll make use of a lot of their habitat. Actually, mate, while we're on it, I'll say like even Ackies, for an example, man. You can find Ackies in areas where there's no rocky habitat at all. I found them in pure black soil plains, living in soil cracks.
Yeah.
Found them in areas where they're living in trees and hollows under bark because there's not much rocky habitat in the desert. I spoke to Ricky. I think you're very familiar with Ricky. I think anyone watching this podcast probably is. He's just a next level herper, hey. But he's found them in Western Australia, I believe, just in spinifex plains and burrows in the ground, with no real cover.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of these ridgetail monitors are probably a lot more versatile than people generally think.
Yeah, really adaptable for sure. Sorry, I keep getting the. There we go. Is that Mertens from Queensland, I guess? Oh,
yeah, that's a Mount Isa one.
Nice. All mine have been all very local to around Darwin area.
Yeah, well, that's definitely a bloody good area for them for sure. But I've put a bit of effort into these arid country Mertens in recent years, and it's pretty cool when you're out in the desert and there's not even a permanent waterway. Like these temporary ones. After the wet season, and mate, there's some Mertens out there. Hey, like it's pretty cool just seeing them in that habitat personally.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I guess over the dry periods and the winter periods, they just disappear into burrows in the ground and they just wait for the rains to return, I guess.
Yeah, like I said, I've only ever found them usually by anything in the NT if it's sort of a permanent water source. It's got a Mertens, and I spent I think 3 or 4 years not being able to find them very easy, and then I went over on a family trip last year. I said to I was with my mum and my uncle. I was like, oh, we found one. I was like, oh, this is pretty rare to find one. And then another one turned up in another sort of pool. And I was like, yeah, I can't believe we found another one. And then there was one in every pool, so I had to start shutting up at that point. Yeah. Oh yeah, these are so rare, Chris. I was like, it's one of them. You spend ages looking for them and they don't turn up, and then when you're not really looking for them, there was one in every bloody pool.
Unreal. Yeah, they're prolific at some spots. Hey, it's awesome to see these whole colonies. You get adults and juveniles all hanging out next to each other, and just it's a great time watching them interact. And go fishing.
Yeah. These ones were smashing yabbies. Like I said, I think there was a gravity female, and then a male a bit further up. And I was just like, oh, this is just this is. I think I said this is once in a lifetime or something. To the first one we found because I was excited and for a long time, and then my uncle was giving me jip, going, "Oh yeah, this is another one of those like once in a lifetime moments."
They do tend to live in spots that. Yeah, no, you're good.
No, go on, mate.
I was going to say, they do tend to live in spots that could be kind of seen as a bit of a paradise a lot of the time. They've got it pretty easy compared to the Spencers for sure.
Yeah, definitely. They all look good. Nice print here, mate.
Yeah, that's West Queensland.
I have a talk about Australian monitors, not bring up the king.
That's it. Yeah, that's my only printy actually.
Oh really?
Yeah, I need to do some WA is obviously really the prime spot area for them in Central Australia. I need to do more out there. I've been a bit of a Queensland specialist with a few forays into the territory. But that one's
all mine was. That one, sorry, mate. Go on.
Oh no, you're good to go, mate.
I said all mine was always back to the Pilbara. It's like that's what I did. So I missed out on all. And I haven't really herped. I haven't herped at all in Queensland. So yeah, I need to do the opposite to you to go and work on the other side. But smash the Pilbara so many times, and then the Northern Territory a fair bit. So it's just it's what you get used to, I suppose. But the printies are tricky anyway. They sort of just turn up. I don't know if you could actually go and herp from as I'm going to go out and find a printy is pretty difficult.
I think in certain areas, potentially in Central Australia and certain areas of the Pilbara, from what I've been told, you could probably target them pretty effectively. But definitely through the majority of their range, man, it's very much they just turn up when they want to, and you just gotta hope you're there and you're right place, right time. Like that one, that was purely just right place, right time on that was a fun trip. That one was pretty extreme, the weather, but to see one out there in near Middleton, Western Queensland, in some interesting country was a nice experience,
Awesome. Breachy in Slonicus.
It's just definitely. You'd be familiar with them, mate.
Yeah, that's a lot like the ones. The Adelaide River. Yeah, that's the ones that I've seen, and then some a lot darker a lot darker than that, but with very small black patterning on them. But yeah, that was interesting to see your baby ones.
Well, yeah, well that's a subadult animal, but definitely, you know, mature adults, man, they will definitely get, particularly the boys, the males in my experience, they'll get a fair bit of, you know, dark patterning on them for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, I found a lot of those before I ever got into photography, and I need to get back there, hey, and put a bit of effort in, because they're an unreal little lizard.
Yeah, so cool. More Spencer's your favorite?
Yeah, that's a Queensland animal, that one. Yeah, I think there's definitely a bit of variation between, you know, those from the east of their range and in the west, you know. So, but I think it's easier to do with photos, you know what I mean? But generally speaking, the eastern sort of ones from, you know, I guess you'd say Julia Creek, you know, across to Winton and down to sort of Longreach and up to Hewenden, you know, like they tend to have more narrow sort of striping than, say, you know, the Boulia or the Barclay ones tend to be have more of that broad banding, and maybe a bit different structurally too, you know. But yeah, purely anecdotal, man. Honestly, it's just probably, you know, just humans looking for patterns and things.
Yeah. I'd split them, mate. They're different species.
Oh, true.
Also, does that come back up, mate? Sorry, I was having a bit of a nightmare with the screen there.
Yeah, we're back. Yeah.
Another glebo. Not going to get away with not showing them off.
Yeah.
Oh, horrible snake. Ugh.
Come on, that's a good snake.
Monitor food. No, it's beautiful.
Oh.
He done so. I mean, the photography, mate, for considering you said you didn't do much, or is amazing on a lot of them.
Oh, look, thanks, man. Yeah, it's slowly getting there. I think that there's a lot of incredible herp photographers, particularly in Australia nowadays. There's a lot of young blokes that are getting into it, and they're just so skilled at it, you know. Like FNQ herpetology, Reed Newell, he's got some phenomenal shots. Honestly, man, the guy that got me into photography was my mate Jack Hawkins, and he's got just some unreal herp photos. But he doesn't even post anything, you know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I keep telling him that's why I'm going to bring it up, because I warned him. I was like, I'm probably going to bring it up, and he's like, please don't. But I'm like, no, he's got some unreal herp photography, and he should post it. But like I wasn't into it, and then I went on a bit of a trip with him and sort of saw what he was capable of doing quite easily with his camera, and I thought, you know, it just sort of seemed like a no-brainer really to have a go, you know. And definitely a steep learning curve.
Yeah, it's like another element. It annoys me sometimes. You go through like different stages with it. You get really into it, and everything's got to be perfection. Especially if it's like a first time find. Like that Glebo Palmer I found, I was like, yeah, you know, you probably got good enough shots of it now, like 1,000 shots of it. And then other times, you know, it takes away from it sometimes. Like sometimes, like, oh, we found it, now we got to get the cameras out, and it's like, oh, with the tree monitors in Papua now, it's like I'll you know, spend 10 minutes if that. If I can't get a shot, just, you know, just let it go over there. But yeah, it can be a blessing and a curse. Sometimes it's just nice not to have the camera, but then it's obviously lovely to get a good picture of them as well.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, mate. That's why nowadays I'm definitely leaning more towards in situ photography whenever possible. I really enjoy it. I find it a lot more rewarding personally. You know, it's difficult, but when you get a decent shot of, you know, an animal that's just sitting there doing its thing, and it looks relaxed, but, you know, generally they're still pretty alert. Like I think that's as good as it gets, really. So, but not always possible. Hey,
I was about to say a bit difficult with your some of your Ackies and your stores, I'd imagine. But yeah, the ones, it's probably some of my favorite shots. I got one of a Risingrai on a coconut tree, and it's like took a 2-second snap in situ. It's like one of my favorite photos where I've got, you know, a load of them posed and everything. Like, yeah, I go through bounds with it, different stages with it. But yeah, if it's a new one, if it's like a new find, it's like, oh, I need to get a decent photo of that. But then it sort of relaxes you. Next time you can actually go and enjoy it. Like that Glebo Palm, I don't think I can get personally myself I don't think I can take a better photo than some of the ones I got. So next time I can just go and look at them and see how they're behaving and acting, which would be nice.
Yeah, definitely, man. That's the way to do it if you can, for sure.
Yeah.
But they're getting to get them comfortable with you and behave like do what they do naturally is probably the hardest part of that.
Yeah. I just need to see more of them.
Can never see enough of them, hey?
No. Well, like I said, they were just so, like we said earlier, just so mythical for ages. And I was like, never gonna see one in the wild. And then I seen like a flash of one on my first trip looking for them, and then nearly broke my ankle, which I've told this story loads, but nearly broke my ankle jumping off a rock to sort of spin around and look at one. And then I was like, that's going to be it. And then 10 years, and then you finally get one. So that's what it's about. But yeah, people are turning them up now. Like again, like we were saying before, there wasn't even many pictures of them. Going back, it's probably 20 years ago. It was just like the odd picture. So people are getting out and seeing them.
Definitely, they seem to be a lot more common than what we would have believed early on. That's for sure.
Yes, yeah, I think that's probably an element of that as well, from how little we knew about them and how few pictures were. And then when when people start actually going looking for them, they seem to turn up fairly regularly. Just hard to get a good photo of. So.
Yeah,
and some more nice Spencers here.
Yeah, that's another nice Queensland one with, you can sort of see that narrow banding. It's just there's variation in all populations, but just generally I find those eastern ones have just got more of a narrow tiger sort of stripe banding than the western ones.
Yeah, I haven't seen many like this, to be fair.
Yeah, they're very common where they occur at the right times. Here's a big boy. That's another eastern one. From the far southeast of their range, getting southeast of Longreach. He was a good lizard, that one, definitely.
Gillens we got there.
Yeah, good old Gillens monitors, hey.
Yeah, I couldn't find them either. Found bush eye. Cordialineatus have eluded me. I just find loads of depressor. But yeah, Gillen eye, they were tricky. I think everyone had ruined the habitat where I was looking.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to. I don't like my odds looking in Central Australia. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's where I was.
It's definitely doable. Definitely doable. But man, there's been some damage done there, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was bad. I mean, that was going back a good few years as well. But I was like, yeah, someone's been here and done what I want to do, really.
I may as well make a notice. I just want people to realize you can 100% find them and not peel a single bit of bark. The majority I've found have just been in crevices, really. Like you don't have to peel bark at all to find them. Like I make a point of that now when I go looking for them. Like I don't want to have to fucking look under a bark. And like if you cannot find one without doing that, then maybe you shouldn't find one. Because I promise you it's doable.
Yeah, all the bush eye that I found, which are obviously doing exactly the same thing, but in the Pilbara, they've all just been in just like hollow, really thin, hollowed out branches seem to be their favorite. And then just in hollow, that mulga wood is usually hollow in the middle. You sort of can tap on it, and then you can hear them. Yeah, there's nothing worse than peeling bark anyway. From what the bit I've done, you get full of fucking splinters, and then there's usually loads of spiders underneath. So yeah, I made an effort of doing it, but yeah, it's definitely ruined the habitat for these guys that will use it.
Yeah, and I know, like, with that, I got to say also, like with Gillens, like life's hard enough already for them out there. Like they occur in sympatry with Ackies, Tristis, that are double the size, and they're in this, they're hunting them for sure. Not to mention goulds and things like panoptes, right, and all the other non-varanid predators. Like it's honestly wild that they're as successful as they are, because they've got a tough go of it, without people damaging their habitat.
Yeah, definitely. They found in pretty high numbers. Those bush eye are weird, where you get patches of like really high density of them.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's patchy, but where they do occur, there's generally a good population. Yeah, 100%.
Some more Stananakis.
Yeah, another Northwest Queensland yellow, also not from Dejara.
Yeah.
So,
I bit my tongue there. I was like, oh. I think it was Reptile. It might have been an Australian. The Australian magazine had one on the front cover, and I think that said Dejara on it. So that's what was probably stuck in a lot of people's heads.
Yeah,
was it Scales and Tails or something? It's like a cracking shot. It might have been one of Gunther's shots actually. A cracking shot.
He had some gorgeous shots with them, mate. Better than anything I've done. Like, don't get me wrong, they're there. There's some insane looking lizards there, man. I need to, put a bit of effort in, like everything else. That's more in line with what you work with. You go looking for nowadays, eh?
Yeah, easy, mate. Well, I've never been to Australia, and a fan Keith thought I definitely need to make that trip to finish off the book. I've got a few more tricky ones to find over in Papua, so I'll probably try and swing through there. How hard are they to find in the Cape York?
So I've seen 3. 2 of them I spotted. I can't actually take credit for that one. That was there was a group of us, of mates that we went on a trip, and I think it was Josh Poppy the Fish on Instagram, and this other bloke named Nia. I'm not gonna be able to pronounce his last name, I don't think, but them two got onto that one. Whilst, funnily enough, me and Martin were off elsewhere and actually had spotted one up in a tree, that we were photographing.
Yeah.
So yeah, look, they're definitely there, and you can definitely get onto them, but there's a bit of luck involved, and definitely a bit of patience, and you need the right weather conditions, I'd say.
Yeah. Similar to the ones in Papua. They sort of you lose all hope, or I do now. And I'm like, oh, this is pretty pants. It's not going now. Well, you usually find one in an hour sometimes, and then just at the last minute they can just turn up, or the lads over in Papua will bring one to you. You're like, oh, there we go. They are here.
Yeah. It's great when you do get to see them. Hey, like they're just a gorgeous lizard, and so unique for it. From an Australian point of view, that we've only got really the one on the mainland as far as we're aware.
Is it, how dry is that Iron Range region? Does it get like pretty dry, or is it very tropical?
Oh, look, depends on the year. I'd say definitely it can get relatively dry. Last time I was there, we ended up leaving because it was just raining nonstop.
Okay.
Found a few green pythons just because why not, and then left because during the day it was just completely just proper, overcast and just raining. Yeah, so no monitor activity whatsoever.
It's the same in Papua. If it's too rainy, there's not much point going out, especially for the tree monitors. Obviously, we can catch the one. You can't catch the ones in Australia. We can catch ones in Papua. But yeah, we like listening for the best way to find the tree monitors in Papua, at least, is like dry leaves that they're sort of bound in between. So if it's like wet, you can't really hear them in the treetops at all.
Yeah. Okay. So you're mostly on foot when you find them.
Yeah. Always. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. The 2 I've spotted. One was high up in the canopy, and the other one was actually on the edge of one of the roads there, on a log, beating, I think, some sort of. There was all these weevils around the log. When we had these big tropical looking weevil things, and it was beating one of those to death, I think, and swallowing it down, and then it saw us and it took off.
Interesting.
So, but
that's cool.
Yeah,
that's
cool. I haven't seen them on foot.
Yeah. There's no roads where we are in Papua, so you've got no choice, which makes it hard work. I'd love to have to just drive and spot one from a car. That'd be a dream.
Oh no, that's real man surfing. That's good. That's make or break them.
Yeah, it's good until it's been hours and hours and hours, and then it's like, I don't think they're here anymore. You get to that point, as you well know, Will. So I don't know if they're even here anymore. I know I found them here before, but maybe they've gone. And then just as that point, usually they sort of turn up again.
Yeah, you've got to work for them usually. That in situ was the one I was talking about when Poppy and we watched that for quite a while, actually, up in the canopy there basking before it descended down a vine and took off. I don't know where, it's so thick through there. But
cool. That's what I was saying before. Will, does it get pretty dry there, or is it always pretty humid? I'm not that aware of Iron Range.
Oh, in my opinion, it would get relatively dry. Like I'd say it would be drier than with the stuff you're familiar with in Papua New
Yeah, that's what I
Guinea.
was, yeah.
Yeah, in Indonesia there. Where that one was, that tree was right on the edge of the rainforest. If I turned the camera the other way, it would have been that
Yeah.
tropical savanna.
That's what I thought. Literally by the look of that tree, I was like, that's not like any tree I've seen them in Indonesia. Obviously, it looks more like a eucalypty type gum tree.
Yeah, like literally, man, I could have turned the camera around and probably photographed a Scalaris, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, that's
so
interesting.
yeah, there'd be a lot of interesting stuff going on there, probably between the two species ecologically in that area, you know, inhabiting similar habitats and, yeah.
Yeah, I need to get there. I always put it down as that would be the easiest one to find, which probably means it'll take me another 10 years to find a it's just always that's literally, I've got a list that I've been working through. I did all the easy Indonesian ones. Now I've got 2 difficult Indonesian ones, not difficult, but more difficult. And then I've got 2 really, really difficult ones, which are on the Papua New Guinea side, Millen Bay. There's a couple of islands over there. And I was like, I'll leave the Australia ones to last because that'll be like more like a holiday rather than like proper herping. But I bet I've jinxed myself and they'll be the worst. I just won't be able to find them.
Yeah, just make sure you do your best to line it up with the weather. Hey, that'll make or break it.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, Aremius here. This is again one of my favorite monitors. Never seen one. I may have seen a flash of one's tail and a bit of spin effects in the Pilbara, but nothing I could say, oh, that was definitely Aremius.
Yeah, that's the only one I've found out in the Barkly Tableland there. It was a gorgeous little lizard there. Look, what can I say? That's a lot of luck, mate, finding one of those. At least for me, you know.
Yeah,
a heck of a lot more luck than skill.
Sorry, mate.
Yeah, you're all good. Go for it.
Yeah, I was saying Ricky was turning up loads. Obviously doing the work he was doing up in the Pilbara. Just falling into them. I guess it's pipelines they must be putting in up there. They seem pretty common, but they're just really hard to hurt for unless you can do those sort of those buckets or truck buckets, which you're obviously not allowed to do as a normal person not doing research.
Yeah, no, it's that one. Oh, look, I actually flipped that one under a rock, if you'd believe it.
Yeah.
Like just total fluke, man. You know, like I just sometimes you get lucky. You know, some days the luck's on your side. You know.
Yeah, Brian Bush gave me a spot for him. He's like, they're always here, but you got to go in the winter, which is like the worst, obviously, time for finding other stuff. It's just a spot on that west coast there, and it's just full of rubbish, mate. It's just loads of tin and stuff. I went back in May on that last trip I did, and I just still couldn't find them. I was like, I don't know if it was still not cold enough. He was saying it. Yeah, I think he was going in there in like July time. And he was like, yeah, that's the only time I can really sort of find them, like have a means to find them. Otherwise, they sort of just turn up randomly. Yeah, they're one that's elusive. Another Gleaver. That's a really nice one.
Yeah, that was actually, I think, the first one that I managed to photograph. Actually,
nice.
That was a good one. That one was over 1 meter in length. It was a big, adult male. Yeah, look at that. You know, the head on him. Just a gorgeous lizard. I wish I was a bit better at photography because I could have done him a bit more justice, mate. But you know, you end up with what you end up with. And
still good, mate, for sure. Especially of a species like that. The first shot I got one, it was literally a flash of its tail, and I was happy with that.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd found a few before I managed to photograph that one. You know.
Yeah. Nice trust us there.
Yeah, that's it.
Say again, mate. You broke up.
Yeah, my AirPods there are dying. Is the audio okay without them?
I think we might have an echo.
Oof. Is it bad or is it bearable for now?
If you do most of the talking,
okay,
you'll be fine. I wonder if I can mute you. There we go. We'll get around it. Right. Should we go on to the Simulus and the Sclara stuff, mate, to wrap up, as we've been rambling on for a bit.
That's definitely fair enough. These will be charging anyway, so hopefully we'll get them back in pretty quickly.
Sweet. So I think what we're going to have to do, I'll bring up the pictures, mate, and then I'll mute myself.
Yep.
I think the echo's gone now, to be fair.
Okay, it's cool.
Where do you want to start?
Have you got photos up, have you, or not yet?
Oh, sorry, mate. It's probably me.
Oh, no, that's all right.
There we go. So there's a map of Australia there, if you can see it.
Yep.
So from my knowledge, all these Sclaris types sort of start around Broome.
Yep.
And then it's all this sort of top end here.
Yep. Definitely.
Sorry, I'm trying to get away from this echo. How far down do they go, Will?
Look, I can't speak too much on the WA ones, but in the territory, I've found them as far south as Larimer. So they go probably to the southern extent of a lot of that tropical savanna. And then over in Queensland is where kind of things get a bit weird, where you've got the Paloensis type animals that they follow the drainage channels, that sort of run. They run into the Gulf, I believe, and then they also run down, obviously, into Lake Eyre eventually, depending on the system. But they follow those waterways all the way down into the Diamantina River basin in almost getting into southwest Queensland. There, that route system is southeast of Boulia. So pretty far south, and then along the coastline, or more coastal anyway. And that Burdekin type animal, they get as far south as I know Moranbah, which is inland of Mackay, and then obviously they get to sort of approximately Mackay along the coast, as far as I'm aware. But there's a lot of remote country out there. They could definitely exceed that.
Awesome. Sweet. Like I said, I'm trying to get rid of this echo. So if you just tell me what to bring up, I'll click it up.
Well, just having a look there. Could probably get into some of the Cape stuff if you wanted. Just we could compare to some of the stuff that you found, obviously, in PNG. Because I kind of wanted to ask you, well, why do you refer to the ones that you work with as Simulus? Like, where do you think, where did that come from as a name?
I think it's there you go. Trying to get rid of the echo. Sorry, people, for listening. We're having a bit of super bad.
Okay.
Let me mute you. I think the similar stuff comes from Merton's description, possibly, where he described the ones from Australia as Simulus compared to Sclaris. But I don't know why that name hasn't stuck for you guys. Slash, if it's not stuck.
Yeah, so I believe the holotype for Simulus is actually from group, right? So, and that would probably fall under the NT population as far as my understanding goes. So I think in Australia, Simulus was sunk into Scalaris, which obviously I think the holotype for Scalaris itself is that, Kimberley banded population from the far, well, I guess you'd say southwest of their distribution. So that's why I always sort of wonder why these ones all the way from Papua New Guinea, are being called Simulus when technically, Simulus would be, I guess, an NT animal.
If I'm muted, can you see that? Well,
yeah.
So that's one I've robbed offline. That's a picture by Stephen Mahoney there. So sorry for using your picture, mate, without permission, but it was on a Flickr account. I have to mute you again. Sorry, mate. But yeah, that's the ones that actually are described as Varanus sclaris, that sort of Beagle Bay, Kimberley sort of area. I think the holotype was from.
Yeah, definitely. And I think something interesting to note about them too, though, is I believe you can get at least on the fringes of their distribution, just from what I've been told, because obviously I haven't been to WA, is that you can get animals that are not banded and more typical of like an NT or an East Kimberley animal, you know. So it's definitely be interesting to figure out how, you know, just the varying degrees of distinctness across the range of those animals are, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, it's going to be hard to mute this and go back and forward. Sorry about that. Yeah, interestingly enough, the Similus that we work for are from Merauke, which is closer to like your Cape York animals, and they sort of key out and look a lot more like the Cape York animals that that you've actually put up, which we can get up now.
Yeah, so I guess just to do some talking while we're getting photos up, I would be interested to sort of hear your thoughts as to whether or not you think like the bandeds and the NTs are distinct to a degree. But yeah, so that's a nice Cape York there from the interior of the Cape York Peninsula, where there's definitely a bit of variation in them across that area. There's another one also from the interior that's a juvenile animal. As you can see, that the previous one had a fair bit more dark patterning there and was from further north, while that one's kind of almost more in line with, you know, a Peloensis type thing without the red coloration, which, you know, they definitely do extend somewhere up the Cape York interior. So yeah, I don't, you know, it might be a bit of a gradient, you know, a clinal shift perhaps, you know.
I'm muted. Just try something for me a sec. Well, if you go to your setting on the audio, I think there's a thing that you can take the echo off. If you've got like an audio setting at the bottom.
Settings, audio, echo cancellation. It's currently checked.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's all right. I mean, if the audio is really bad, man, I think we've been going for 2 hours. We can always come back for another round and just go straight into the Scalaris. But
yeah, let's do that. Just yeah, there's getting I don't know how bad it is for listeners, but I'm getting a super echo back my time, my way. But yeah, let's do that. Like I said, that's been a really good episode. It's a really good excuse to get you on again, and we'll just do a whole episode deep diving into the Similus, and then we can have the most important bit where we have a back and forth. We've got this echo problem. We'll definitely do that, mate. Thank you everyone for listening and bearing with us. Like I said, there's a super lag on my end, so I'll try and get that sorted next time. Thank you so much, Will, for coming on. Do you want to give yourself any sort of shout outs or any? Definitely go to Will's Instagram page that we've been going through there. Some cracking shots for anyone that has been listening.
Yeah, no, thanks, man. It's been awesome. I'm more than happy to, talk about monitors very clearly, for 2 hours, just kind of goes on and on. But keen to get back on and get into some more of the specifics of that complex. And I think just check out the page, I guess, if you found anything that we talked about interesting and you want to see more photos. And there's definitely a lot of other great, young herpers out there as well on Instagram that are doing phenomenal work, I've mentioned quite a few people, I guess, over the course of this, but it's incredible what's been going on with the scene, to be honest with you, in Australia, and I'm really keen to see what people find next, particularly in the monitor side of things, and I think that'll probably cover it for me for now. Hey, thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Will. Like I said, loads of technical issues going on. Thank you for everyone for bearing with us. We'll definitely get Will back on for a part 2 to talk about the Similus and the Scalaris in more detail. But thank you very much for listening. I'll see you again soon.